Okay, so I hear there's been a lot of buzz on the internet about Capcom and the idea that they are considering potentially remaking Resident Evil Code Veronica X, a game that came out over 2 decades ago, back in 2000. Initially appeared on the Dreamcast console, and for the most part, a lot of people like that game. I remember when the game first came out. People had nothing but good things to say about it. And honestly, I don't think Resident Evil Code Veronica is quite as popular as Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4, but it's a pretty damn good game. Some people would go on record and say it was better than Resident Evil 3. Some people believe that was one of the games that Capcom should have remade within the past couple of years. And it might be a game that they end up remaking because let's be honest, if Capcom decides to remake Resident Evil 5, there is no way in hell that Capcom is going to be able to pull that off without there being any type of negative publicity or backlash whatsoever. Because I believe, even though Resident Evil 5 was a solid game, it was criticized for, I guess, racism and all that other stuff when it was released. And it seemed like after Resident Evil 4, the series wasn't quite as popular, especially like during the teens decade for the most part. And not only that, you look at like the setting for Resident Evil Code Veronica. The setting takes place, I believe, in Paris, along with Antarctica, and with all the chaos that's been going on in like France as of late, it would be really smart for Capcom to kind of capitalize off of that and try to release a game where I guess one of the settings takes place in Paris, France, and the story itself was also pretty interesting as well because um, it revolves around the main character Claire Redfield, basically being kidnapped and basically sent to like a prison and then having to deal with the release of the T virus and all that other stuff. Um, Honestly, Resident Evil Code Veronica X is a pretty good game. It probably didn't sell as much as it should have because it came out on the Dreamcast first before it came out on the PS2. And for the most part, if you guys don't know, Dreamcast is as big as it was back then. It wasn't a huge commercial success, and I honestly think it's because the competition was too strong back in the day, and PlayStation had the lead for the most part in terms of sales, in terms of buyers and consumers. Um, like by the time the PlayStation 2 came out, there was a lot of games that people had greater preference for, which most likely overshadowed Resident Evil Code Veronica. I believe it was released on GameCube as well, but a lot of people know that GameCube was a commercial flop, is despite how nostalgic the game console itself is. But Resident Evil Code Veronica, I do feel like it's one of those games that can sell a couple of mil if it does get a remake. And I honestly feel like that's probably why Capcom is considering doing spin-offs now, because they kind of know that after Resident Evil 4, the main series kind of took a nosedive. And I remember when I went to or when I watched Capcom's Resident Evil live stream, nobody really wanted to see like any of the other games that they had coming up. They just want to see the Resident Evil 4 remake. And that kind of tells you right there that I'm not going to say that the series, best days are behind itself, but I do feel that like the classics are games that stand out more to hardcore Resident Evil fans than anything else. So honestly, I do think that Resident Evil Code Veronica X remake is likely in the future. I'm not going to go on record and announce and say that that's the case because I'm not Capcom, I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. But if a lot of people are clamoring and they're basically and they're petitioning for a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica, then I honestly feel like Capcom should definitely just give the fans what they want to see.